your host, John. On this episode, I want to talk about mental fatigue. And I think it's kind of becoming a trend now for me where I kind of talk about things while I'm in them because it's the easiest way for me to gain a better perspective on it myself. And I kind of like to look at it from all angles. So I'm currently feeling mental fatigue, and it's coming off the back of the back of being ill and just kind of run down and run ragged and pulled from pillar to post. But I think we all go through this, and even when I'm talking to people in life, like everyone's going through this in one form or another, where they're either looking for their reason why or they're struggling to just keep up the pace of life. Like some people live incredibly hectic lives and it's hard to keep the wheels turning all the time, and sometimes you do need a break, and sometimes you go through something traumatic or you go through something life-changing and you need time to gather your bearings, but life don't always give you that, and the world keeps turning no matter what happens. And it's really easy to kind of feel overwhelmed, and that kind of perpetuates that feeling of mental fatigue into almost a downward spiral, at least for myself, where I tend to retreat into procrastinating either one form of entertainment or retreating into gaming or something where you have a bit more control. Because for me, when it feels like everything's just slipping away, having something to give me that sense of control again, that there is something that I can do, that kind of helps to stop the spiral. But putting that into things that ain't necessarily going to benefit life, for example, I've been playing video games. I don't know why I said it like that, but hey, guess we did. I've been playing different games, and it's easy to, like, the problems in that are simple. So the big problems in life, you can kind of forget about those for a minute, and you can control this little world or play this game, shoot some things or whatever. Like, you can distract yourself from the troubles for a little bit. But that don't help the feeling of being drained or feeling fatigued. Like, there is a certain amount of rest that you need, yes, but eventually you need to pick things up again. And for myself, like, if I don't push through the mental fatigue and remind myself why I do all the things that I do and what I'm pushing for and why I go through the mental fatigue, then like I lose that sense of why I'm doing it, and it becomes harder. So the more I remind myself why I'm doing this and what I want to achieve and where I want to get to, the more it helps to, one, bear the mental fatigue and understand like why I'm putting myself through this insane stuff. But it also helps you appreciate the things that you have and the things that you can do. Like, there's a lot that I'm striving for in life, and there's a lot of life to experience, but it don't all have to be now. Like, everything comes in time, and when you're feeling fatigued and just run down, it's easy to get caught up in that feeling of wanting things now. But if you go through that rush and you kind of, so I keep losing my train of thought because, like I said, I'm going through mental fatigue. But we will get through it. I will push through. There's something to pushing through the mental fatigue and kind of working through it and finding things that you can do that pick up the pieces that are productive and not so much a distraction. So again, like when you're feeling low, the simplest of tasks can feel like mountains. But if you start where you can and build up from there, then it's better than doing nothing. Because the problems are still going to be there. The reasons that you feel low and the reasons that you feel exhausted are still going to be there. If you've got an insane workload, if you take a short holiday and then go back to that insane workload, it's only going to be a matter of time before you feel that fatigue again. So understanding why you're in that fatigue and what brings that fatigue on is going to be far better than just medicating it every time and slapping a bandage on the problem, which I think we all are guilty of at one time or another. So give yourself that kind of moment to understand why you're feeling drained. And a lot of the time, you're feeling drained, rightly so. But it's about understanding it and understanding what actions you can take to ease it off and to give yourself a better experience overall. If you can understand why you're mentally drained and what's triggering it and what's within your control, you can start to fight your way out of it. Again, everything is temporary, so it's not going to last forever. But when you're in that moment, it does feel like it. So just try to remember or remind yourself that it doesn't last forever. I'm doing that right now. Like, even trying to record today has been a challenge in itself, just trying to get over the mental hump and the energy. Like, for the last few days, I've been quite quiet and quite reserved. So to sit down and talk for 10 minutes or however long I'm going to talk for by the end of this, it seemed like a mountain of a challenge. But if I didn't do it, I would be disappointed with myself come tomorrow because I'd have missed the target. Or I'd have been incredibly rushed around tomorrow morning and I'd have caused myself even more stress. So I gathered my bearings and I kind of looked at what was the best I could make out of essentially a bad situation. Like, yes, I am feeling mentally drained right now. I am struggling on a day-to-day to kind of get back to myself. But at the same time, I've been running myself ragged and I've earned the fatigue. So there's no shame in feeling it. I just need to learn how to manage my workload better and manage my time better and myself better. But it is the learning curve in life. But you need to step out of it in order to see that. You can't just feel sorry for yourself that you're worn out and that the world's to blame. It comes from you. Like, you may be overworked, but that it's still your life, so it's still down to you to manage. If you're overworked at work, then you need to manage that. And if it's your boss breathing down your neck, then you need to manage their expectations. Again, with companies, sometimes what they want is too much, and as employees, sometimes what they want is too much. So there has to be a common ground met in that regard, but it will never come unless one voices their concerns to the other. But I don't want to get off topic too much. So the mental fatigue's gonna come from many areas, not just work, in day-to-day life, in relationships, in whatever area you want to look at. Even in your hobbies, you may feel fatigued or stagnate, but it will pass, and you will get there if you're consistent and if you're aware of it. If you just give up at that point that you feel mentally fatigued and you just stay in that bubble of procrastination and self-pity, you'll never get anywhere and you'll never get out of it. So the only way to get through it is to do something. No matter what it is, no matter how small, the mere act of doing something will help you mentally to build up to getting out of it entirely. It might not happen overnight. It might not happen in a week, day, month, whatever. But the fact that you took the action to start the process to build out of it, that's the important part. That's the trigger that will have the domino effect down the line. But you have to push through to get there. And we'll all feel this mental fatigue, and we'll all have these barriers throughout life in all different aspects. And each time they seem to be disguised in another way. But it's the same problem time and time again. So we have to keep reminding ourselves how to deal with it and realize that it is the same problem, just in a different costume. And the more we can do this and the more aware we can become of ourselves and the lives around us, I think really and truly everyone just wants to be happy in life. So why not all work towards that by being a bit more self-aware and aware of others? But I think I'm going to leave it there for that episode because, like I say, I'm quite drained myself, and even getting to this point's been a chore. But I'm glad I've done it, and I'm glad I pushed through. It's another slab on the paving the way to where I want to go and what I want to do. And more than anything, I met my own targets, which mentally for me, while I'm going through this fatigue, is going to be detrimental to getting out of it. Because if I missed uploading and I broke my routine and the kind of expectation and standard that I set for myself, it would only make me spiral even more. So the fact that I was able to pick myself up and power through and get this done is going to mean more to me than a bit of extra rest would have done. And I think that's the kind of message of this episode, is when you do feel like you're down and when you've had enough, push through a little bit more, because that's what will get you to where you want to go. So the seed for this episode is going to be don't give up on your dreams. Like, there's a reason you had them, and it's going to be a hard road to get there, and it may seem impossible at times. But just don't give up. If you don't give up, there will always be a chance for you to succeed. But if you give up, you've ended your own chance. So don't put an end to your own chances and keep dreaming. All the best, and I'll catch you on the next one.